Man, do I love the Pikmin series. Just last year, I had the perfect opportunity to replay the entire trilogy in anticipation of the long-awaited Pikmin 4, and I would still highly recommend it. These are some of the most replayable games thanks to the creative strategies you can come up with to play as efficiently as possible, but even if you're not as into that, there's so much more to love about the series. I've already made a full trilogy retrospective and a video on Pikmin 4, but there was one other game I neglected to discuss back then. So, does anyone remember when people thought Hey Pikmin was Pikmin 4? What a weird little game this is. I remember this was coming out around the same time as Miitopia, and me being as excited as I was for both games, I had a big decision to make. See, my allowance didn't give me a whole lot of wiggle room for extra games, so I knew I'd have to pick wisely as that's what I'd be stuck with for the foreseeable future. Since my brother was getting Miitopia, I thought that I would get Hey Pikmin and maybe, just maybe, it would be even better than Miitopia. It wasn't. Eventually I did get Miitopia and my happy ending, but man, Hey Pikmin just stung me on a personal level. I love Miitopia, that game rocks. It makes Hey Pikmin look like Dora the Explorer Pirate Pig's treasure. But I'll cast my judgments aside because it's been a while since I really sunk my teeth into Hey Pikmin, and given that it'll probably be a while before we get any new Pikmin content, this is what's left, the table scraps. This is what I get for asking for suggestions, you know who you are. Development for Hey Pikmin was handled by Arzest, who are most well known for Yoshi's New Island, some of the Street Pass B Plaza games, Balan Wonderworld, and Sonic Superstars. Well, that's an interesting portfolio. Apparently, Arzest was formed by key members of another studio, Artoon, who developed the Blinks games, which is not the connection I was expecting to make today. Suffice to say, Arzest does not have the greatest of reputations these days, but I'm fairly interested to revisit Hey Pikmin, so let's see what it has to offer. Hey Pikmin sees Olimar returning from another business trip as he blasts off into an asteroid field and, oh no, crash lands on the Pikmin planet again. Considering this guy is employed by a space freight company, you'd think he'd be a better pilot, but no, this guy is always getting hit by an asteroid. At a certain point, it stops being a funny coincidence and becomes a distinguishable pattern that tells me that Olimar should be fired. After the landing, we learn the ship needs a ton of this random new substance, Sparklium, to be fully repaired, and of course, Sparklium is found throughout various treasures on the planet. Collect some treasures, befriend some Pikmin, and destroy the ecosystem. I think you get the idea by now. Except this time, things are a little bit different. Hey Pikmin is a weird attempt at a 2D platformer that reminded me a lot of Kirby Mass Attack. Of course, they aren't exactly the same, but Mass Attack had a similar Pikmin-like concept where you controlled 10 Kirbys to explore a bunch of levels, solve puzzles, and beat up some bosses. Though, unlike Mass Attack, there's not any fun minigames to distract from the somewhat boring and forgettable campaign. A large factor of appeal for the Pikmin series is exploring these vast open areas with tons of secrets to uncover and collecting a whole bunch of treasures along the way, and Hey Pikmin drops all of these core aspects for a much slower, linear platformer with some light exploration. It doesn't lend itself to a lot of the fun or interesting scenarios you'd find yourself in any of the other games because of this limitation, and I find it pretty boring as a result. There's very little strategy involved in the gameplay as the Pikmin you find in each level are preset to fit the stage. Well, at the very least, I can't complain about blue Pikmin being useless. Ironically, most Pikmin feel the same in this game, except for of course the blue and winged Pikmin who can swim and fly respectively. Winged Pikmin can also carry Olimar to the ground slowly, which makes for some neat vertical levels. I will say, I love how expressive the Pikmin are in this game. The game bombards you with these cutscenes of some Pikmin hijinks, and though I kinda wish they eased up on it, these are still really charming and show a lot of personality for the Pikmin we would otherwise only see in the Pikmin short movies. It's still as satisfying as ever to spam your Pikmin on some of the bigger foes and bosses you'll come across, but the combat is more mindless than ever. I like some of the new creatures and stage gimmicks introduced here, especially the Crumbug, these purple fellas, but I don't like the big Bulborb stand-in. I don't care that the Bulborb is a boss, the Mach-Kiwi just have really boring designs. There's some other strange designs here like the elongated Crushblat, which doesn't feel like something you'd see in any of the other games, but honestly I'm kinda here for it. To fill in the gaps left by the conventions of the traditional Pikmin gameplay, stage gimmicks and level themes do a lot of the heavy lifting here. The game doesn't look stunning or anything, but I do like the painterly style the world map screens have, and I also enjoy how both screens display the levels. Most of the stage gimmicks are things that any other platformer you've ever played have done, like water rising and lowering, riding on a slow boat while enemies drop onto it, or the level being really windy. And with there being no challenge involved in the game, I honestly think you'd get a better experience from playing any other platformer. You could go for 100% by collecting all the treasures and bringing all 20 Pikmin to the end of each stage, but that can be way more frustrating than it needs to be because the game loves to surprise you with a random enemy every now and then. And your Pikmin don't help this, they literally walk into the enemies and get themselves killed. Honestly though, free world's into the game and I just felt nothing in particular towards it and have already forgotten everything about most of the early levels. However, the first 2 levels of World 4 showed me that Pikmin could work as a 2D platformer. These were a lot more fun simply because they rewarded the player for exploring some areas that were more out of the way. Nothing crazy, but still, I appreciate the effort. There's also one alternate exit in each world that leads to a secret level, but I didn't care enough to replay the levels for most of these. Simply put, most levels in Hey Pikmin feel very samey, so I just don't want to play more of that. I just wish the game leaned further into the aspect of exploration, because while it also wasn't anything too special, unlike the levels I had played up until that point, I was actually having some fun with it. However, I do like the Piklopedia. As always, there's a lot of funny entries here, and there's even a section dedicated to Amiibo. I love the fact that the Olimar Amiibo is included in this. There's some interesting stuff revealed in the Piklopedia about Olimar, his family, and even the president, like how despite how Olimar feels about him as a person, he stands by the president because he can be a stand-up boss. Honestly, the president seems like a lot worse of a person from the outside looking in because he can be a real jerk sometimes, but he's pretty tolerable of Olimar's incidents. Sure, he does send Olimar straight back to the Pikmin planet just as he got home, but I'm a little more surprised he either didn't get fired or didn't get a massive pay cut for damaging company property. But of course, this is the same guy who went on the run from the creditors he owed vast sums of money to, so yeah. Sadly, Louie isn't here to tell me how the crumb bug is inedible or how to make a 5-course meal out of a mock kiwi, but props to whoever is responsible for writing the Piklopedias and Pikmin, because these are always really fun reads. Hey Pikmin is a fine game, inoffensive at worst, and just okay at best. It's a unique take on Pikmin, but doesn't fare well for me because this gameplay feels way too slow and dull for a 2D platformer. There's moments, few and far between, where I can see some semblance of a solid idea here, but for the most part this is a bog-standard platformer that plays it way too safe. For that, I'm surprised there's actually people out there willing to defend this game like it's some hidden gem, but no, it's really not. Hey Pikmin doesn't do anything wrong, but conversely does nothing particularly well, and for that, I'm just glad I never have to play it again. But hey, maybe I don't know anything. Maybe Hey Pikmin is actually the best in the entire series. You let me know in the comments, I'm really curious. Either way, I've been Wyrlwind, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.